bad is the situation?
Well, the situation is alarming. When we did the Jukwaa la Usalama, we as we engaged on these issues of key issues in the country, drugs and alcohol abuse ranks among the top most serious security concerns in the country, with terrorism and banditry. Really, I can say alcohol and substance abuse is among the top three. And because of its widespread nature of the, banditry is confined to certain counties. Terrorism issues also confined to certain corners of the country, the challenges we have. But this is widespread. In terms of coverage and population and the numbers, I think that then alcohol and substance abuse and drug abuse is the leading security issue in the country at the moment. As you know that 1 in every 7 Kenyans is actually abusing alcohol or using alcohol in one way or another. And then in 1 in every 10 Kenyans is actually using psychoactive substance. Drugs are most prevalent now among school-going students in colleges and universities. And the worst part of it is that university students and college students are really being targeted by these cartels that are selling drugs. The most used substance now is marijuana, which in some places is almost even being normalized in some parts of the country. When you have a conversation in places like Vihiga, Siaya, Kakamega, Kisumu, Bungoma, Trans Nzoia, the western part of the country has the highest prevalence on this issue of drugs and alcohol abuse. In fact, the leading county is Trans Nzoia, followed by Kakamega, and then Kisumu, then Nairobi. So you can imagine, western part of the country is the most affected. Part of the reasons is because of the porous border. Our borders with our neighbors in Uganda, for some reason, has a lot of prevalence of trafficking in adulterated alcohol, especially ethanol, methanol, and illicit brew. So this is a crisis. In Nairobi, for example, we have reached a stage where there is drugs that are actually served as cookies and food substance, and they're laced. They're cookies that are laced with drugs.
Weed
Yes, those weed cookies and those kind of things. This is a transnational crime. So the problem we are dealing with is not national per se. It is the problem of international in nature. Recently, when the operations we did in Operation Maliza Jangili in Marsabit, we realized that this route of Moyale now is the most active route in terms of trafficking in persons and drugs. And criminals who come from as far as Nigeria come through neighboring countries, and then they come through Moyale. And during this crackdown, a lot of drugs were confiscated in Marsabit and Moyale, and Marsabit and Isiolo. So, and it goes together with other crimes, the guns, proliferation of guns and ammunitions, and trafficking in persons. So it's a combination of factors. In Nairobi, it's very, very serious issue because, drug traffickers target children. And they start with, especially the peddlers, they first target with children from fairly well-to-do families. The idea is that they know that they can access resources. So they want to create first dependency. So the addiction element is they push as many children from well-to-do families as possible to be addicted to drugs. Once they do, they know that those children will do anything. They will sell their family wealth, they will steal from their parents, and so they know for sure that they have consistent market. And so it's a very, very evil plan. And you see, if they target children from teenage, so they know that they have customers up to a certain age, a productive age, and most of the affected people are in the productive age. So this is the state of the affairs, and that's the reality. And this is a problem we have had now over time. We have really have this problem over time, and I think, as the president spoke, part of the briefing report that the president received was the Jukwaa la Usalama report that really paints a very grim picture about the state of the nation on the matters of alcohol and substance abuse. The team is already there. If you appreciate, the anti-narcotic unit has been there. The problem is that the anti-narcotic, why the president was concerned is that our report captures the dire situation that the anti-narcotic department, your unit, is facing. Because one, this is a unit that has only 193 officers, so about 200 officers. And these officers have no independent office, they have no proper budget, they have no vehicles, they have no equipment, they have no presence across the country. So part of the challenges in terms of crackdown is that the NACADA, the agency that deals with drug abuse, which is NACADA, has been doing a lot of good work in research, civic education, and coordinating multi-agency crackdown. But you see, this is not a police unit. NACADA is not a police unit. It's more or less a civilian entity. So it can only succeed if you have a multi-agency approach. And that multi-agency team, in terms of enforcement, must be led by the police, and that police unit is within the DCI, the anti-narcotics unit. But its stature is so low, its presence is very thin in the country, and the resources are not there. They don't have enough vehicles to move from one corner to another. Why we need this specialized unit is because we need to train them. We also need to separate them from the day-to-day officers who are operating in certain corners. One of the challenges we are facing, and I must admit, is that some of the officers are compromised by the local brewers. They are co-opted into the business of brewing and benefiting from it through corruption. And so because of familiarity that happens within the team working together, the police officers, the NGA officers working in the local area, you need an oversight body at the level of the DCI where they are not used to familiarity in that place. They can be changed anytime. They can be moved to different parts, and they can quickly do sting operations. In some places where the police officers have been compromised, for example, when we did a crackdown in Kitale and in Muranga, you would hear the brewers asking, how did this team manage to get us without early warning? Did the local police know? So it means that they had compromised the local officers. So my take is that our take is that we have succeeded as a country in combating terrorism because we have a multi-agency approach and we have a specialized unit, especially the specialized operation group, the SOG, who have done a very good job in our border counties, and recently now working together with other teams of the police to deal with banditry. And the success is enormous. I mean, it's huge. It's something that we must appreciate. So when we say we are strengthening anti-narcotics unit, first of all, it's not new. Two, is that we now want to give the proper officers. Now, maybe the next question you're asking is that where will these officers come from? The officers will be drawn from the existing pool of officers in the country at the moment. Since we did a recruitment, one of the challenges we were having is we were having challenges with strength, the police strength. But with the recent recruitment, we are now happy. So we can be able to now draw some officers from the existing units, take them for specialized training, basic training, give them resources, and then they can form part and parcel of the team. So immediately from Monday next week, I'll be holding a meeting with the IG to look at the ways we can support the National Police Service in establishing that anti-narcotic unit. Remember, that's a unit within the police. So already in strengthening that anti-narcotic unit. So the IG will now have to sit down and get certain officers. So our meeting will be to look at what are the policy issues that he may want our support, and what resources may be needed so that we can push for the budgetary allocation commensurate to the figures that require to strengthen that team. I tell you something, Kenyans will support this fight. Why Kenyans will support this fight is that nearly every family has a person who is addicted, who is dealing with nearly every family. Not all of us, ministers, whatever, everybody. You have at least a close relative who is addicted to either drugs, alcohol, or something. And this is no longer a normal thing. This is a national crisis, and I believe we'll succeed. Since you can see the progress we've made in other sectors, we will succeed in this sector.
So how soon will you have the unit ready?
Let me say that once we have the meeting this week, from Monday, we will then give the country an update on the roadmap. The IG will give us clarity on the roadmap, how to strengthen the unit, and how many vehicles they need, and whether we get them an independent office, and then they will work in a multi-agency, because we want to make sure that it's intelligence-led. We want to infuse it with the with NACADA, so that they have joint working relationship. Later, we will need a lot of cooperation with county governments because of licensing. There are too many licenses sometimes of alcohol outlets across the country that are being misused. They are not actually being used to sell the genuine alcohol. They are being used to sell adulterated alcohol that have blinded Kenyans, caused them addictions, diseases, liver diseases, pancreas, and it's all kind of diseases that have affected Kenyans.
Okay. So this unit will, or is just general?
No, I mean, addiction is a different problem. That's why part of the things that were not conclusively addressed in that issue is question of dealing with addiction and dealing with rehabilitation. For example, you will see the Jukwaa Usalama report captures the question of addiction and proposes that every county must have a rehabilitation center to rehabilitate Kenyans who are addicted. Now remember that addiction is not only confined to bad alcohol, or illicit alcohol. Addiction also can be for those who are drinking legal stuff. And we know many people are addicted in high offices, in middle class, and so forth. That is a separate problem. You can be drinking legalized alcohol, but you have been addicted. That way, that is a separate problem. But what the anti-narcotics unit will be dealing with is the criminality, which is the illicit brew and drugs, all kinds of drugs. By the way, you need to know that part of the crisis in the city is that in these clubs, in these famous clubs in town, you'll find that those young people are not just going there to drink alcohol. They include piping, drugs, including cocaine and so forth. So the first target is not just to go and pick those young people. The best thing is to go for the big men, the big supplier. To be very honest, the frustration also in terms of enforcement in this sector is where in some cases where we fail to have proper support from the judiciary. The fines that are levied against on those who are trafficking or brewing or distributing or supplying alcohol, the fines are so so low that it encourages those people. They are ready to continue selling the illicit alcohol or adulterated ethanol, among others, without the fear of the consequence, because they know they can pay the fines, and they get greater profits. So that's why you saw the president mention that we need to move it to, we seize that property, we seize their property and declare them proceeds of crime. And the resources that come from it after they are seized and sold can be used now to support rehabilitation programs.
Okay.
Yeah.
You mentioned
You take a human approach. You know, it is not criminal. For addiction, we are dealing with rehabilitation and establishing rehabilitation centers, which is a county function. The report proposes, the Jukwala Usalama report proposes that the summit where the counties and the national government are coming together should agree on licensing procedures and how to support county governments to establish rehabilitation centers, because this is also a crisis. Even for those who are drinking illicit alcohol and they have already been addicted, or drugs, definitely they still need our support. NACADA at the national level can be supported to establish centers of excellence in regions. But in every county, county government should be able to have rehabilitation centers. As such, then we can have shared responsibility in rehabilitating many Kenyans who have become victims of this scourge.
okay. Are you anticipating anything like
No, I will never anticipate. It will even be impossible for a court to issue a court order. You cannot issue a court order against the institutions that are already doing their job. They are just what multi-agency approach is about coordination, so that the chief is not doing separate thing from the OCS and the DCI team, which is the anti-narcotics unit, NIS. They are coming together, and in the border, KDF will be involved, immigration team, KRA. So all these multi-agency team, and remember that there is already existing team that is chaired by the PS Interior that meets so often to review the process that we have made in this fight against the illicit drugs. So it's not a new thing. And even if somebody wanted to get a court order, we will be very happy to see that kind of, in fact, that will be maybe the first aspect. Because how are you, how can you get an illicit, or I mean a court order to block fight against the drugs and illicit brews? But you never know Kenya, you know, it's a place of interest. Some judges have issued orders based on rumors. But I don't know they will issue an order against you. We will continue with our work, because the work of a police officer daily, the DCI, the NIS, the KDF, the immigration, KRA, is all of it to deal with these criminal activities. But now we are telling them, do it in a coordinated manner so that you can have better results. There is no conflict, but also you can synergize your energy and resources. A Kenya free of drugs and illicit alcohol. And to,
it will happen?
yes, it should. It should happen. As they say, challenges will still be there, but we need to reduce it to a level that is manageable, you know, that enforceable at a given day. We want to see Kenya where its youth is healthy and children can grow in a safe environment, can go to school, parents can send their children to universities, and they go to work, and they don't feel, they go home and they know that their children are safe in school. And that's the only way government can guarantee safety and well-being of its citizens.
Okay.
Yeah.
What would you say about that?
If someone is doing good business, they have nothing to fear. But those of you who are doing good business on the front, and behind the scenes you are doing illicit business, I am sorry. We will not stop at anything. We will do everything possible to ensure that you are smoked out. If you are doing legal business, you are licensed to sell legal alcohol. Do your job. Don't misuse the license you receive from county government or the national government agencies to carry out illicit business. And those who are doing business without license, you know what will happen to you. And those now who are really selling illicit brews, we are going to carry out very massive crackdown to make sure that Kenya is safe.
All right. The president said that as what status?
Kenya is a very young country, a young nation with a median age of 19 years. the future of Kenya is in human resource, it's labor. And for you to deliver a first world country, you need to have health and well-trained labor. Drugs and alcohol abuse are robbing us of very productive citizens who are dropping out of school. Very brilliant ones are dropping out of school, and even those who have graduated from school are unable to function because of alcohol and drugs. And so if we are not careful, we cannot achieve our first world status while the most productive generation is being wiped out by drugs and alcohol. We cannot continue in that manner. There is no first world without first class human resource, which we must train. They must be healthy. They must be able to function and deliver for the country. That's why in Eastern countries, the same Eastern country, whether it is Philippines, Malaysia, China, and the like, drugs attract death penalty, and people are hanged for trafficking and selling drugs. Some Africans who have found themselves trafficking in drugs to eastern parts of the world have been hanged. And you saw some of them were in death row. You have reported even as the media. So those people take the fight against drugs very serious because they know the value of having a healthy population. So for us, there's no way we will be a first world without first-class citizens who are healthy. And so drugs and alcohol is a threat to our first world status, and we must be able to confront it and confront it decisively.